The Dhamma discourse will be about Parāyana Sutta. In the word Parāyana, Para means the other shore. We are in the shore, this shore, where there are the danger of old age, disease, and death, and so on. Para, the other shore, is Nibbana, which is totally free from all the sufferings. Parāyana is the way, the practice that will make one reach the other shore, Nibbana. So how this Parāyana Sutta took place is that the Brahmin, whose name is Bhavari. So this Brahmin, who was the teacher Brahmin of the king, Bhavari, together with his senior students, 16 of them, each of these 16 senior students had 1,000 students in each. So in this way, there were 16,000 the Brahmins who were the senior disciples and their students. Bhavari, the Brahmin, he was getting old, so he left the kingdom and then stayed in a far place teaching. And they practiced the samatha practice. And then they achieved jhana and also the apanya, supernormal knowledge. So this they practiced, they had attainments with this samatha practice. So Bhavari, the Brahmin, sent his senior students together with the students of each of these students to the Buddha. And Bhavari asked them to ask questions to the Buddha. And each of the students also asked questions to the Buddha. And this is how Parāyana Sutta took place. And at the end of Parāyana Sutta, 16,016 of these Brahmins attained enlightenment. They became arahats, as well as the other audience, the Deva and the human audience, other audience of 140 million also gain attainments. And like it was mentioned before, Bhavari, as he was getting old, he wanted to practice, so he left the kingdom, lived in the faraway place in the south of India, together with the students. And he had been staying there for 8 years when Buddha became enlightened. So it was 8 years earlier of Buddha's enlightenment that he was staying there and practiced samatha practice. And in that area, farmers or these, they gave 100,000 each year in tax to Bhavari. And Bhavari, he donated all of 100,000 each year to everyone who comes. So as he offered everything that of 100,000, after everything had been offered, one Brahmin came and wanting to receive the donation, even though Bhavri said he had already offered everything. So this Brahmin this Brahmin is actually the one who cheats, and then he want to receive 500. Even though Bhavri say everything had been offered, this cheater didn't take it, it cannot be true. And he cursed, if I don't get 500, from this day, on the 7th day, may your head be broken into 7 pieces and fall. This is what the Brahmin, this cheater cursed. So Bhavri was very depressed because of this curse. Even though he had jhana and abhignana, but when he was cursed, he was quite depressed. And one Devata, guardian Devata, came to Bhavri and said, don't trust him. He's just cheating. He doesn't know what is the head. He doesn't understand what is the head. He doesn't understand what it means that the head will be cut and dropped. So Bhavri, the Brahmin ascetic, asked the guardian Devata if the guardian Devata knew what it means, the head, and what it means by the head cut and drop. And this Devata also didn't know the meaning. And this Devata mentioned that now the Buddha exists. Buddha had attained enlightenment, teaching. Buddha is in Savatthi. Bhavri, the Brahmin ascetic, was amazed to hear this. In the olden days, even though Buddha had came into existence in a faraway place, people have not heard yet. Not like nowadays, the news spread quickly through WhatsApp and everything. But during the Buddha's time, the news didn't spread as quickly as nowadays. So Bhavri, hearing that Buddha had already came into existence, Bhavri sent his senior students who were Brahmin ascetics, 16 senior students, as well as in each of these students had 1,000 students. So Bhavri sent them, so that was like 16,000, yeah? 16,016 of them. They were to go to Buddha and they were to ask the questions. And Bhavri told his students, when you get to the Buddha, you have to see if it is the Buddha. Because in the scriptures that they have been learning, they learn about what are the marks, what are the signs of the Buddha, and so on. So he sent these students to see if it is the Buddha and to ask questions mentally. And if the Buddha answered verbally, then it is the Buddha. So these Brahmin ascetics went on the journey to go see the Buddha. And on the way, people were curious that very many ascetics going on journey, so they were curious, they asked, and when they knew, they also joined to go and see the Buddha. So a big number of followers also follow the ascetics. And when they reached Savatthi, Buddha was not there. Buddha foresaw that they will be there to ask questions, but because their indriya was not ripened, Buddha went to the place called, the Buddha went to another place. And then there, Buddha would teach them. So at the Savatthi, at the monastery where Buddha resided, Buddha left footprint. Seeing the footprint, this ascetic knew that it is the footprint of the Sabbanyuta Buddha. And they follow to the place called Pasanaka, where Buddha was. When they arrived, Buddha was teaching the monks, and when these ascetics and the crowd of followers arrived, Buddha said greetings, and if these ascetics could withstand the weather on the way in their journey and so on. And afterwards, the ascetic, just like their teacher Bhavari had asked him to, they questioned the Buddha mentally from their mind, not verbally. So they asked how old Bhavari was, what is the descent of Bhavari, how many marks of great men Bhavari has, what is the education of Bhavari, how many students Bhavari was teaching. So these 5 were about Bhavari. And the next 2, what it means by the head, Muddha. Yeah, Muddha. What does it mean by Muddha? And Muddha Dipatana. What is it means by the head falling off? So they asked these questions mentally, and Buddha answered them verbally. Buddha answered that the Bhavari was 120 years old. The descent is Bhavari. And there are 3 marks of a great man. Buddha has 32 marks of a great man. These 32 distinguished marks of a great man that Buddha possessed. Bhavari has 3 of them. And the education is that Bhavari, he was accomplished in the 3 texts of Veda. These texts, he was accomplished in these 3 Veda. And he is now teaching 500 students. Avijja Muddati Janahi, Buddha answered verbally that avijja, ignorance, not knowing the 4 noble truths, avijja, ignorance, is the head. Vijja Muddha Dipatini Saddha Sati Samadhihi Chanda Viriyeda Sanyutta. Meaning that falling of the head. It is Vijja knowledge. And this Vijja knowledge associates with Saddha, Sati, Samadhi, Chanda, and Viriya. So in order to cut off the head of avijja, Vijja knowledge that associate with Saddha, faith and confidence, Sati, mindfulness, Samadhi, concentration, Chanda, will, Viriya, effort. So this Vijja can cut off the avijja head. And afterward, Ajita also asked questions, and later on, these questions and answer will be explained. But for the first part, the head, Mutta, head, is avijja, ignorance, not knowing the Four Noble Truths. So what are really arising are the nama rupa. These nama rupa arising, passing away, arising, passing away. And whatever that arises and passes away, these nama rupa are dukkha satcha. Avijja, not knowing correctly what is dukkha satcha. It is the head. Samudaya satcha, tanha, craving. Craving is the truth of origin of suffering. And avijja doesn't know correctly as thus. And magga satcha, the Eightfold Noble Path, the Eightfold Noble Path that leads to Nibbana, avijja doesn't know correctly. Samma vaca, samma kammanta, samma ajiva, right speech, right action, right livelihood, samma vayama, samma sati, samma samadhi, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, samma sankappa, right application, samma ditthi, right view. These Eightfold Noble Path. But avijja doesn't know correctly. And nirodha satcha, the truth of cessation of all suffering. So these Four Noble Truths, avijja doesn't know correctly, but avijja know them wrongly. Having avijja, one does not know correctly the nama rupa that are arising as seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, knowing, and so on. These are the truth of suffering. But because there is avijja, ignorance, one doesn't know correctly as suffering. But instead, one is thinking the seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and so on as permanent, pleasant, and thus people are doing things so as to be able to get what they want to see, what they want to hear. So sankhara also continue, and because of it, there will be more existences. If there are more existences, then there will be old age, disease, and death, and all the sufferings will continue. It is because of avijja, ignorance, that the samsara keep on continuing, sufferings keep on continuing. It is the avijja head, because of the avijja head, that beings are suffering continuously. So the example is given, if there is a poisonous or venomous snake that is dangerous, the most dangerous part of a venomous snake is the head. If the head is cut off, it will no longer be dangerous. In the same way, the most dangerous part of the samsara, because the most dangerous part of it is avijja, the head. So long as there is the head avijja, the samsara round of resistances, these sufferings will continue. So that's why it is important to cut the avijja head. So in order to cut the avijja head, there should be vijja, knowledge. And how to cultivate knowledge, one needs to have the chanda, strong will to practice, saddha, faith and confidence that this practice will lead to nibbana, sati, mindfulness, noting every arising object that arises at the present moment. Samadhi, the mind should fall calm, collected on the object that has been noted. Viriya, one has to make the effort in order to be able to note the object. So in this way, in order to cultivate vijja, knowledge, yogi has to be mindful. Yogi has to make the effort in order to note the object, to be mindful, to be concentrated on the object, and to gain knowledge of the object, what has been noted. So here in the intensive meditation, during the Sutta meditation, yogi has to note the primary object, rising and falling of the abdomen. In the Sutta meditation, keeping the body upright, the legs crossed, the body not too stiff, not too relaxed, breathing normally, keeping the eyes closed, breathing normally. Do not try to take a deep breath. Do not try to slow it down. Just breathe normally. And focus your mind on the abdomen. When you breathe in, the abdomen rises. Be mindful. From the very start, the abdomen rises all the way until rising finishes. When the abdomen falls, keep the mindfulness. From the very moment the falling takes place, all the way through until falling finishes. In this way, note rising, falling with a soft mental note, but the mind must be on the actual rising and falling of the abdomen. If rising, falling is not clear, you can put the hand on the abdomen and note rising, falling. For those of you who have been practicing other methods before, if you have problem noticing rising, falling, if you get mixed up, you can note sitting, touching as the primary object. Sitting, be mindful of the whole body sitting, note it as sitting. Touching, the buttock and the cushion touching as touching. Sitting, the two hands touching as touching. So in this way, one can note sitting, touching, The touching can be alternately the buttock and cushion touching and the two hands touching. In this way, alternately sitting, touching, sitting, touching. So in the sitting meditation, it is either rising, falling, or sitting, touching as the primary object. And while noting rising, falling, or sitting, touching, when feelings and sensations arise in the body or the mind that comes obvious, you have to note it. If pain arises, focus on where the pain is, note it as pain, pain, pain. And if in the mind arises happiness, note it happy, happy. If it is sad, note it as sad, sad. In this way, whatever feeling and sensations arise, whether it is physical or mental, be sure to note as it is. And then when they disappear, come back to noting, rising, falling, or sitting, touching. And at times, when the mind gets distracted by a thought, then note as thinking, thinking. Usually thinking go away after noting it. And then come back to rising, falling, or sitting, touching. So in this way, if there is thinking, note it thinking, thinking. If there is wandering, note it wandering, wandering. And then come back to the primary object. And in the sitting meditation, when other general objects arise, such as if your mind gets distracted by a mental image, note it, seeing, seeing, seeing. Or when your mind gets distracted by hearing, note it as hearing, hearing, hearing. Do not go into detail what the sound is about. Just note it, hearing, hearing. A few times, then go back to rising, falling, or sitting, touching. And if other objects arise, such as sleepiness, note it sleepy, sleepy, sleepy. If you feel bored, note it bored, bored, bored. If there is desire, note it desiring, desiring. If you feel angry, note it angry, angry, angry. And then after that, come back to the primary object. When you are doing walking meditation, keep your body straight, the head straight. Do not bend the head down. Keep the head straight. And then keep your eyes down, looking only about 6 feet ahead of where you are going. But do not pay attention to what you see. Keep the eyes down. Pay attention on the foot when you are walking. When you are doing walking meditation, when you are doing walking from one place to another, always keeping the eyes down and not pay attention what you see. Your hands should be collected in the front or at the back. Do not be walking with a swinging hand. Keep the hand collected at the front or at the back. Keeping the eyes down. Pay attention to the foot. During the walking meditation, for the first part of the walking, you just do one-step walking. Right, left, right, left. When you come to the end of the lane, while you stop, you are in standing position. While you are standing, keep the awareness on the whole body standing. Note it as standing, standing, standing. the intention to turn, noting, wanting to turn, wanting to turn, wanting to turn. When you turn, it is the whole body turning. So keep the awareness on the whole body turning, noting as turning, 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 turning. And then walk again, right, left, right, left. Not too slow, not too quick, right, left. And after noting right, left for a few minutes, when the mind calms down, then slow down a little bit more. Note the two-step, lifting, placing, lifting, placing. And as you note the two-step, lifting, placing for some time, when the mind calms down, you can go on to note the last part of the walk, the three-step walking, lifting, moving, and placing. And daily activities, also be mindful, bending, stretching, opening and closing of the door, as well as while eating, be mindful, taking shower, brushing teeth, be mindful. So in this way, there are three parts yogis should be noting: sitting meditation, walking meditation, and daily activities. So in all three parts of the practice, yogis should be mindful continuously. Even though you are changing posture, but there should be continuity of mindfulness, noting whatever arising object. So in this way, from the moment yogi wakes up until yogi falls asleep at night, during the day, yogi should be mindful, moment by moment. Okay, so the time is up. May you all be able to practice so as to cut the avijja head, to be able to practice moment by moment to weaken the avijja head until finally it will drop and fall.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.